Okay, picture your city at sunset. The office lights flick off, the streets quiet down, and most of us head home, lock our doors, and go to sleep. But right as our day ends, an entirely invisible workforce is just waking up to keep our civilization running. In today's Explainer, we are diving into the guardians of the dark, the millions of people whose daily schedules are the exact opposite of ours. It's this hidden world of sacrifice and resilience, and honestly, understanding it is going to completely change how you view your everyday life. So, I have to ask, what really happens while you're dead to the world? We wake up every morning, right, and we find fully stocked grocery store shelves, spotless office buildings, and safe, patrolled streets. But how did it actually get that way? We take all of this totally for granted, but it's the result of a massive, highly coordinated human effort that happens entirely in the dark. It's like this vast, unseen engine of labor that just hums along while we are totally unaware. And the sheer scale of this invisible world is absolutely staggering. Get this, between 15 and 30% of the workforce in developed nations operates in some form of shift work, largely in the dark. To put that into perspective, we aren't just talking about a handful of quirky night owls here. We are talking about up to a third of the entire working population. That's hundreds of millions of people globally, powering our modern economies way outside of traditional daytime hours. Now, obviously, human history wasn't always like this. For thousands of years, our rest naturally aligned perfectly with the setting sun. But that shifted dramatically back in the 18th century. The Industrial Revolution brought us factories, and owners quickly realized that idle machines meant lost profits. Then, the 19th century brought the expansion of electric light, which suddenly made the darkness conquerable. And today? Well, we've engineered a massive 24/7 continuous global digital economy. We literally engineered the night away. Let's dive right into Section 1, the unseen network. While we're snoozing, there is an incredibly diverse network operating in the shadows, practically keeping our world afloat. We've got emergency dispatchers managing sheer panic, ER staff saving lives, truckers moving global supply chains, commercial bakers, server engineers, and cleaning crews. And you know what the wildest paradox here is? For these workers, success is measured entirely by the daytime public noticing absolutely nothing unusual. If the hospital is functioning normally, the roads are safe, and there's fresh bread at the market, it means this unseen network performed its job flawlessly. Imagine this scenario. It's 3 a.m. Boom. A massive server failure hits, or critical power grid surges. Millions of financial transactions and global communications are suddenly hanging in the balance. While you are deep in REM sleep, an intense, high-stakes crisis is unfolding. And this is that brilliant paradox I mentioned. When our websites load instantly and our streaming services function without a hitch, it is the night workers behind that reliability. The invisible digital night shift literally resolves these global crises before you even pour your morning coffee. Tech professionals are out there actively defending our cybersecurity and maintaining data centers around the clock. So, there's a massive gap between our daytime expectations and their nighttime reality. We expect pristine workspaces and uneventful buildings, right? But achieving that requires cleaners to walk miles lifting heavy machinery and security guards to endure hours of extreme isolation punctuated by sudden, chaotic crises. We expect immediate emergency help, but dispatchers face the grueling emotional burden of managing life-or-death panic while the whole city sleeps. The contrast is just incredibly stark. Moving on to Section 2. Fighting the biological clock. Look, human beings are biologically hardwired through thousands of generations to be daytime creatures. It's all governed by our circadian rhythm, that internal biological clock that dictates our sleep cycles, our hormones, and even our digestion. When the sun goes down, our bodies are literally programmed to shut down and rest. So you can see how this creates a pretty brutal physical clash. At 3 a.m., your natural biology tries to take over. Your melatonin production spikes, your body temperature actually drops, and your alertness plummets. Yet occupational demands require extreme focus. An ER nurse or an air traffic controller has to make split-second life-or-death decisions at the exact moment their body is begging them to just sleep. They are essentially fighting their own physiology every single shift. But hey, it's not just a physical toll, though. I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, what is the social cost of all this? What does it actually feel like to live your life completely out of sync with the rest of society? The reality is really found in the missed milestones. Night workers endure profound emotional sacrifices and chronic isolation. We're talking family dinners, birthday celebrations, school plays, weekend gatherings, and holiday traditions all routinely sacrificed. Because they sleep when the world is awake and they work when their loved ones are finally home, maintaining relationships becomes this enormous challenge. They trade their personal lives to keep our world turning. Think back to the COVID-19 lockdowns for a minute. Society basically shut down, yet the world didn't end. Why? Because the night workers kept going. For a brief moment, the hidden workforce became visible. Daytime society was suddenly forced to acknowledge, depend on, and finally applaud these frontline defenders, from the hospital staff to the sanitation workers and the overnight truck drivers. Which brings us to Section 3, the future of night work. Now we're seeing a massive rise in automation, AI, and robotics. And sure, machines don't need sleep, they don't have a circadian rhythm. It's super easy to assume algorithms will seamlessly take over the night shift. But when a chaotic, totally unpredictable midnight crisis occurs, human intuition, empathy, and adaptability are irreplaceable. Technology is definitely going to drastically change the nature of night work, but it won't erase the need for the human guardians watching over those systems. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up to a functioning city because millions of people sacrifice their nights. The lights turn on, the water runs, the internet connects, and the stores are full. Someone stayed awake so the world would keep moving. As AI and robotics advance, the nature of this work is going to shift for sure. But will we ever truly be able to automate the night entirely, or will the darkness always require human guardians?